Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Utah Beach operation here. This is part 1 of the D-Day event, and I've been trying to get all 5 stars with this event without resorting to a division. And I played for about 3 hours so far, and was so close to completing it a few times. I think this is a really good operation, apart from 2 or 3 things. There's 2 or 3 things that they could have changed to make it even better. But this is a very, very difficult operation to get 5 stars in if you're playing solo. You really do need a few teammates coordinating together in order to win this one with all 5 stars. Just completing the operation, though, is quite easy, and I will show you that several times, actually. But let's play through it once just to see what we're dealing with. I think playing Atlanta is probably one of the strongest ships you can take. The high DPM means you are just going to be very good at dealing with a lot of these smaller targets. Problem number 1, though, is these tiny little torp boats. Do you see how much they just bounce in the water? They're very quick and very maneuverable, and they're very hard to hit. It feels almost random at times where they're going to bounce to and where your shells are going to go. So dealing with these things is quite difficult. That's why I initially want to veer a little bit towards where they spawn. You notice they spawn off to your left and right flanks as you start this operation. So if you spawn on the left flank, try to go a little bit left, and that way you're getting closer to them and going to kill them faster. Same with the right flank. Here we'll try and help out on them on the right flank, but even at 7 kilometers, it's very difficult to lead them with Atlanta guns. The ships are very fast in this one. We'll see that later with the enemy destroyers as well. They go so fast that it's almost impossible to hit them at longer ranges, at least with Atlanta. This is a ship with very, very floaty shell arcs, though, to be fair. I did play it once with a battleship, that being Rodney, and I felt pretty useless. That might be because that's what I started with, to be fair, and I will play it some more with battleships and some destroyers, but when I'm trying to get all 5 stars here, I feel like I just need the Atlanta. This is a ship that's going to allow us to hopefully deal with these minefields. It's the next phase of this operation here. We initially have to deal with the small torp boats, then we have to make our way through this minefield. You'll notice the ASW, the depth charges here, are doing a great job of clearing the minefields. So whenever you have it off the back of your ship and not the plain version, it's actually better here at dealing with these minefields. So that's something that Atlanta can have. Now, there are ways to augment your ship here. There are special directives, or whatever they're called, classified documents, I guess, and some of those are just absolutely necessary to be a strong ship in this mission. So the HE here, dealing with these AA mounts, is going to do just ridiculously good damage. This is the next phase. We have to take out 4 AA mounts, and as a team, this isn't too hard to do. There's also a few more of those mini torp boats to deal with, and they can spawn on either your right or left flank. Sometimes they'll spawn in front of you as well, and we see a few of them. So next, radar going to be used. You notice their detection is very good. It's the next thing about Atlanta that's so powerful, is you can use your radar to spot a lot of these smaller DDs, know where they're going, and chase them down. It's really important to deal with them, as there's times where I've noticed there's one that escapes and it just takes forever for it to ever be spotted again. It seems to get a little bit lost at times in the back lines, but we're going to charge forward and try and take all of these guys out. Ignoring the AA mounts for now, as it's more important, I think, to deal with all of these small little torp boats. If you're getting torped by these torp boats, make sure you're avoiding getting like 3 kilometers away, or if you are 3 kilometers away from them, know that that's about when they want to torp you. So go in a straight predictive line, and then once they hit 3 kilometers around there, then take evasive actions. Notice we don't have a hydro here. I am valuing the radar and the defensive fire a little bit more. There are a ton of planes coming in, and having that defire, especially unlimited amounts with Atlanta, is very nice. Unfortunately, we do lose our DD in this one to one of those torp boats. Not the best start, but we do make it through, and hopefully we can deal with all of the AA mounts and the rest of the enemy ships to come. The biggest reason I lost this event was the later stages. It's very easy to actually win this operation just normally. It's not hard to finish all of the main objectives, but it's these secondary objectives that make it so difficult. And something that often killed my runs to get 5 stars was actually the minefields dealing with the landing ships later on. So what I want to do here is I want to take out the enemy airfields, and hopefully that's going to prevent those minefields from coming in. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure if that actually does prevent the minefields from happening, the planes that go lay them out in the middle of the ocean, because I never was able to kill both airfields at once. Here I'm trying to blind fire the airfield. Notice we're getting a lot of hits. And this is the second problem. The first problem being those tiny little torp boats being so obscenely fast that they jump around in the water, and they're a little bit bad to go after and hit and shoot at. I don't like that at all. The second one is blind firing doesn't work, actually. We're getting tons of hits, and we're going to see later on that we did 0 damage to that airfield. It seems like you have to wait for the airfield to get spotted once, and then blind firing will work. And I think that's really bad. I think what we should have here is the option to blind fire it even before it's spotted. Either we should be able to blind fire it whenever, or I think it should be not blind fireable. Either one. But personally, it's a little bit frustrating here. Now, this is totally a problem of playing this solo, okay? This is totally a solo issue, all right? If you're playing even in a 2-man div, one of you can take the left flank, one of you can take the right flank. You'll kill the airfields, you'll kill all of the island coastal defenses, and you should be fine. And ideally, you'd actually have a third player as well to stay back in spawn and deal with the enemy ships there. As you're going to see, that is mainly what ended my 5-star attempted runs. Next up is the coastal defenses, though. So now that we've taken out all of the AA mounts, we have to deal with at least 3 of these coastal defenses. That's kind of our main priority here. You don't have to take them all out to win the operation, just 3 of them. And notice not all of them are spotted at once. I think that's also a minor annoyance here, is I would like to see all of them be spotted, and it seems a little bit random in which ones the friendly aircraft go after to spot for you. But here is a very key point. If you've played this operation at all yet, you may have played Atlanta and shot your HE at some of these coastal defenses, especially the ones that are more armored, these coastal guns. The AA ones you can go after with HE, no problem. But the guns themselves, you can't pen with HE until you get one of the classified documents that allows you to do it. And then it absolutely murders that coastal guns. So that's really, really important if you're playing a light cruiser specifically. Next up, we have a bunch of destroyer reinforcements. Sometimes they'll spawn down south here. Sometimes they will spawn off to the 10 line, actually, just north of that island on the 10 line. But for now, they spawned in the south. We're pretty close, maybe too close. There's times I actually died to these DDs as I played too aggressive and lost most of my HP to the coastal guns, and then these DDs finished me off. So it's no joke. You do have to be a little bit careful. But here, using our radar again, very nice to get that radar to help us kill off these destroyers rather quickly. So we're doing a good job of dealing with the enemy forces coming in. Our AA is helping our teammates out. This is very good. There's that aerodrome actually. That is full health pretty much. I think my teammates might have shot at it a little bit. Pretty annoying to not be able to blind fire. And you'll see later on, you can blind fire it after it has been spotted once. That's the important thing here. If it wasn't able to be blind fired, I would, I guess, just accept that. But pretty frustrating that it's only situationally blind fireable. But moving on, a little while after you've dealt with the reinforcement destroyers to the south, they actually spawn up north as well. Sometimes they'll spawn on the right-hand side. Sometimes they're going to spawn all the way in the north. But this is why it's important to have maybe a third div mate to actually be staying in the north to deal with these destroyers as they enter the battlefield, as they're just going to kill off a bunch of our landing ships. And the hardest directive, this is the hardest one I found to actually complete, is saving at least 3 on each flank. You have to save 3 of them going to the western shore and 3 of them going to the southern shore, and you get 5 total for each of them. So it's not easy. If you're up there and able to deal with those DDs, it's great, but as a solo player, it's hard to go around and get everything. It's a very hard operation as a solo player. And I was thinking about that. Maybe it's because there's not a hard mode version. In the past, we've had operations where there was the standard version of the operation, and then later on, we got a hard mode that upped the difficulty in a lot of different ways. And maybe it's that we don't have that this time, where the initial operation, winning it is almost trivial. It's so easy. But then getting these 5 stars is almost impossible unless you have some really solid teammates coordinating with you. Shooting at these DDs, yeah, I'm going to have a tough time getting back to deal with these guys. This has been probably the most difficult part, as I've said, is keeping all these landing ships alive. I've been late to get back and deal with these destroyers basically all the time. So you'll see me switch up my strategy here and there, but this was one of my best chances at it, as I had a random teammate also in Atlanta, and notice that he's going around and killing off the rest of those coastal defenses off to the north. Our team is holding down the fort in the south, so I'm hoping that if I'm able to just save enough of our landing craft, we should win this. All right, that's what I'm hoping here. Our Atlanta might be able to deal with those last couple of minefields in the west, and then my hope is that we have like 3 of our teammates around to deal with the minefields in the south. Well, I'm saying I didn't get 5 stars, so you know what's going to happen. But we deal with these enemy destroyers. Again, their torps kind of come out around 3 to 4 kilometers is when they like to torp, so that's generally when I'm going to be changing up my positioning, trying to maneuver, trying to dodge, and that allows me to take D-Fire and Radar instead of taking that Hydro. That D-Fire is kind of nice in this game mode. But unfortunately here we have 4 alive for both. But the minefields to the south are actually going to claim 1 more. And this is maybe why we need to be killing off those airfields. And I really wish I could blind fire them earlier on, because it's almost impossible for a solo player to go kill both airfields and get back in time. I just don't see that really happening. So we do fail this one, but we get 4 stars. 4 stars, not too bad. A little disappointed after I grinded this out, man. I played like 3 hours at least of this, just spamming Atlanta. I did try 1 Rodney, 1 Flint, and landed on Atlanta being the best, because I just need that DPM. Although it's pretty bad until you get that 1 classified document that gives you extra HE pen to actually deal with the coastal guns in particular. Not a bad game, over 2k base XP. Hey, if you're farming base XP missions or anything like that for the dockyard, this could be a good way to go about it, because I think every Atlanta game I played, I got over 2k base XP. So you're easy winning it, just not getting the 5 stars. All right, let me show you some of the games that I ended up losing. So here, finishing off some of the coastal defenses, and again, late to get back. That's going to be a massive theme here. You need someone to go deal with those enemy destroyers. And sure, dealing with these coastal guns is great. You have to do it, by the way, to get the primary task complete. That's our victory condition, but not the 5-star condition, right? And oftentimes I found myself just way too late again. So dealing with the Z31 here, the lead time, even at 8 kilometers. When their speed boost is up, I think they might go faster than a standard destroyer would, even with their speed boost up. It seems a little ridiculous how fast some of these ships are going. But once you deal with their engine, you're often going to break the engine on these destroyers. Then they slow down quite a bit and are much, much easier to hit. In this one, we dealt with the DDs. I don't even know if we managed to finish off all the coastal defenses even in this one, and certainly didn't save enough. So that's only 2 stars in that one. But you do get a victory for it. But this is probably the last thing that I'm not a huge fan of about this operation. Otherwise, it's great. It's just a little bit too difficult to get all those 5 stars without going in with a div, which is certainly doable, but I know there's plenty of people that do just play this game solo. And maybe it's just the first day, people not knowing what they're doing. Maybe people watch this video or others like it and they figure it out. And you can get the 5 stars a little easier. I'll have to try it again next week, I suppose. But yeah, for now, this first day of it was kind of painful. It seemed like a lot of the times, like in this match in particular, a lot of times teams just kind of floated around the middle of the map, unsure of what they were even supposed to be going after, which I can get. It is the first day after all. And to be honest with you, that's kind of what I did in my first match as well. When I was playing a battleship, I was pretty useless in the middle of the map. Also, I think that comes down to a lack of speed and DPM as well, just for battleships in particular. Again, I need to try the battleships a little bit more, but to actually have some solid battle impact, I think you need to take a cruiser with high DPM and the special classified documents that allows the high explosive to actually do full pen damage to those coastal guns. That's the key. That allows you to do some really good work here. Again, really, really close to winning this one with 5 stars. So close. I got a couple of those where We nearly made it, but got 4 stars instead. Another one over 2k base XP. Again, that base XP farming is pretty good. I know the last mission chain for the dockyard requires you to get some base XP, so if you're interested in grinding that out, it's pretty easy to do here, I think. Although I noticed, well, I mean, I don't want to be too hard on teammates. It's just randoms. It doesn't matter. But I did notice that I was one of the only ones really getting a lot of base XP. Again, that's not necessarily to just, you know, be hard on my teammates here. This is just to let you know that maybe it's not as easy to get base XP in it as I think, but I was having a pretty consistent time with the base XP if you're looking to grind that. All right, I wasn't really paying attention. Not sure why I failed that last one, but you probably were paying attention to it. Here, where we lose all of our transports, basically, very, very quickly. Yeah, I was not back in time to deal with these destroyers at all. They are just absolutely wrecking our landing ships, man. Yeah, so 2 stars in that one. It's not too hard to get the 2 stars, I think. Dealing with all the coastal guns, not too bad. Destroying the torpedo boats, not too bad. And even the hostile DDs. I think 3 stars isn't too bad, but getting those landing craft, man, it's not easy. This is going to be, what, the last game I have for you? No, maybe I've got a couple more for you. Here's one where I played very, very aggressively, and this is a situation where it's a little frustrating to not have full spotting of all these coastal guns right away. You'll notice that we killed one of the coastal guns off to the southeast there, and not the other one. So that's just because they weren't spotted. It'd be really nice if I could just go in order, starting in the southeast there and going up to the northwest, and just kind of make a loop all the way along. But you're not guaranteed spotting of everything. It's kind of random. Here's the one where I died, by the way. Oftentimes I was able to stay alive in the Atlanta, but this time I kind of overcooked it. Got a little too close to the islands, getting hit a lot by the coastal guns, and then these DDs will finish me off. There are some classified documents that will make you take less damage from these guys, or I think you do better, yeah, you have less chance of catching fire, torps do less damage, but I think the main one is you really, really want to have that extra damage and pen into coastal batteries. And also as a cruiser with these ship-based ASWs, there's one directive, or what are they called? Classified documents. There's one that gives you more blast radius for your depth charges, allowing you to clear off those minefields quicker, because it's not just those DDs to the north that we're killing off our transport ships, it's also getting through those minefields. So either you have to deal with those minefields with the depth charges, or just try and take out both airfields. Again, I wasn't quite able to do this ever, killing both airfields, that is, but I think it does reduce or eliminate the minefields altogether. I don't know. Maybe you'll have to tell me that, those of you that have played this game mode and managed to do that for me. But I will try and do that in the future. Here's a good example, though. The aerodrome was spotted, so we are doing damage to it here. And you'll see in a bit that the blind fire does work in this case. So a little frustrating there that it doesn't always work, especially when you're given hits. That's kind of the key here. If I wasn't given any hits, like penetrations here, previously, before that aerodrome was spotted initially, where I didn't get any damage in on it, then I would have been fine with it. But showing all of these full pens and not getting damage, that sucks. Maybe it's a bug? I haven't really considered that yet, but I probably should, given... well, this is a bit of a low blow, but given how World of Warships is, I should probably just assume it's a bug. It's a joke, mostly. But dealing with these coastal... Look at the damage, man. Look at that damage. See, you need that extra HE pen. The AP is going to bounce and shatter in some ways. You have to hit very specific spots with the AP. That's where I tried the Flint, actually, because I was a little worried about survivability of Atlanta. So having the smoke, and then... the less range on Flint actually mattered a lot, as these coastal guns and the aerodromes there are up on land. So you don't actually have the range you think you do. You have to be a lot closer to actually get the gun elevation to hit these targets on land. So here we go, trying to finish off all these coastal guns. And, well, not getting back in time. Bit of a theme there, right? So I think 2 of you probably could. 2 Atlantas coordinating together probably could get it done, all 5 stars of this mission, but 1 on its own, you need some good random teammates. And of course, that you never know what you're going to get, which is fine. but a little bit difficult, I would say, to get this mission done as a solo player. Maybe fine-tune that a little more, make it a little easier for a solo player. Although then you don't have the challenge for even up to a 6-man div, because you can take 5 of your friends plus you, 6 people into this, and finish off this operation pretty well. You should be able to win it there for sure with 5 stars. Here's a good example of just the absurd speed of these enemy destroyers. I know it's in Atlanta at 13 kilometers, but I actually cannot zoom out enough to see where the shells are going to land to lead this T-22 enough. And the way these ships accelerate and slow down as well. They not only are really fast, but they sometimes, like here, like I'm trying to zoom out a few ticks just to see where my shells are landing, and I can't. It actually puts me onto the gun ocean levels view, which is kind of hilarious. I did manage to get 2 hits though somehow into that T-22. It's hard, man. It's hard to lead these guys. It's really hard to hit those little patrol boats, those torp boats. I think they bounce around in the water a little too much. It seems like they're from a time before we got all of this wave changes, the ocean changes from operations before, where the ocean was much calmer. And it seems like the ocean does impact the hitbox, I guess, of these little torp boats, and it makes it hard to hit. Although I am playing Atlanta, to be fair, so maybe it's easier with some other ships to hit them with better shell velocity. But then you lack the DPM, and I really think I need this DPM. So maybe it's just a skill issue on the aim. But here we do manage to get back in time, right? We do manage to save some of the southern ones. Actually, no, the western ones are already dead. Okay, we only have, what, 1 left there. So this one is game over as well. It's hard, man. It's very hard. But I did actually enjoy most of the time with this operation. It was fun to try and figure out as well. Maybe it's just new things are more interesting to me. I have a little more patience when something is new compared to seeing it for thousands and thousands of times, because I've played this game almost 9 years at this point. New things are cool. So I'm glad. I will say, overall, I'm very positive about this operation, this D-Day Utah Beach operation. Just because I like seeing these new things again. It felt like we went quite a while without any operations in the game at all. And I'm glad to see it back, although the standard operations are pretty obscured and hard to get into. So maybe they'll bring it back in some way, but I kind of was thinking they were almost done with operations entirely, like they weren't going to do them anymore. Unfortunately, that seemed to be the way for the last couple of years. Maybe it's the transitionary period, I don't know, but it's nice to see them back. And it'll be interesting to see what the next one is, because I think there is a second one coming here at some point, because there's an Axis version, I believe, or on the Allied one. So I know there are classified documents here, it says in the dev blog, or at least on the website for this operation, we can see Allied classified documents against Axis, but then there's also Axis classified documents against Allies. So there should be a second version coming. I hope that one's also fun to play, but I had a pretty good time with this one outside of these boats, man. They just jump around in the water, just dodging you for free, it seems like. It's a little ridiculous. This was, I think, the worst attempt, and I still win. Like, we still win this one. But this is one where I think we fail every other objective for the most part. I got back not really in time, I guess, to deal with all of these destroyers. And unfortunately, the southern DDs actually pushed through. I tried to get back a little earlier this time and deal with those northern DDs. But the southern ones managed to push through alongside those mid-game torp boats. If you'll remember from the first game where I kind of showed you the whole way through of it, those torp boats were still there from that mid-game push where we get through the initial wave of torp boats, then the minefield, and then that second wave of torp boats. I'm pretty sure that's what those torp boats were still from this late into the match. So a bit of a rough one to finish it off, but I did have a pretty good time with it. So you're gonna have to let me know what you think in the comments down below as well. What do you think about this operation? I'm excited to see him back, and there's some decent rewards actually as well. There's a few special camos, one for Baltimore and one for Jervis, that you should be able to earn. And the Jervis one actually looks pretty good. But I will show you the Atlanta build later as well. But I will see if I can, we'll see if I can get all these kills actually. We're on 12 kills already. Too bad there wasn't a cruiser mission for kills, because this would also just farm that up for the dockyard. But this is a decent event, though, to farm that dockyard. If you're worried about not completing it and you missed asymmetric battles, as that was a great way to complete dockyard missions earlier on, last patch, kind of sucks that that wasn't available for both patches of it. At least this operation might allow you to farm some of it, although I guess some of the missions are capturing zones and there are no cap points here, so not every mission is going to work out for that. And damage-wise, fire damage-wise, if that's a mission, not going to get too much of that on the enemy DDs. But I think we're going to manage to get, what, 14 kills, maybe a 15 kill game here, which is kind of funny. It's a lot. That's a lot. And we do still win. That's the key. You're going to get victories here. You're going to get good rewards. Anything base XP related, you're going to get good rewards from. And that's really nice to see. So if you're needing to farm out some of that, you should get, maybe you want to farm out different ships, upgrades for them in this kind of tier 5 to tier 7 bracket, or grind out some of your tier 7 or even 8 ships after the tier 7. That could be an option. Last thing I should say is the Endracht, I think, or the Dutch cruisers that have the airstrikes. They can actually one-shot the airfields, which is kind of interesting. I gotta say, this port here is also really cool. It's only available in the D-Day event thing here, so you can't actually see it as a normal port, I don't think. Maybe that's going to get changed in the future, and I'm just totally wrong here, but I hope it does. This is a very cool port. Like, planes flying around, like it's very cool. So hopefully this becomes a port we can just use normally, because they did a really, really good job on it. Again, there's a lot of really good stuff about this event. There's only a few minor gripes that I would have with it, and those are, again, very, very minor. As for the build on the Atlanta, going very aggressive here. Even trying Outnumbered as a solo player, trying to get around the map a little bit quicker, didn't really work out because you're just spotted basically all the time anyway. But IFHE here, alongside Top Grade Gunner and Heavy HE, just trying to pump the damage as much as I possibly can here on this ship. And taking some AA, it helps a little bit. Not too much, but you do need to worry about the torpedo bombers while you're in a minefield. Minefields suck, by the way. If they ever get added to like random battles, it's going to be brutal because you're going to get trapped in a minefield, slowly drop your depth charges to try and get out of it, and then you can't maneuver. So then the enemy CV is just going to come kill you for free because there's no maneuvering then. So hopefully that never sees play in random battles ever. It's pretty annoying in this event already, but at least it's bots, so they typically do miss you on purpose with the torpedoes, unless you're going in a direct straight line. Consumables enhancements, getting us that back a little bit quicker to the defensive fire and the radar. Pretty nice to have. But again, very aggressive build, not even taking survivability expert or anything like that. Hard to play like that. Maybe not the easiest build. You saw I even died over pushing like that. You got to be very careful about your positioning if you are going to play a build like this on the Atlanta. But it works out pretty well. And keep in mind here, there's a few more tabs for this event. And actually, let me show, if you don't know where to go, here's like the normal thing. Let me check. Is there a D-Day? No, there isn't a D-Day port. Okay, I'm not going crazy. I couldn't find it there. Anyways, you have to click here, and then that's going to take you over to the special port, is the idea. And that's where you can get into all of this, and you get a cool brief. It's neat. It's neat. There's some rewards here. I think these camos are probably the most interesting ones. So you get one for Baltimore here. Looks pretty good. And you earn it by playing this game mode, which is sweet. But the Jervis one right at the end is probably the coolest one with all this netting and life rafts, everything in here. It looks good, man. It looks pretty good. Casings from some of the shells there. That's pretty cool. It's a cool camo, but you do have to play quite a bit to get to this one, I think. But it's available for a little while, at least. And then we have this intelligence data here. This is where you're going to buff your ship a lot. So this is going to be very, very impactful. This is the one you basically need, right? So HE shell armor penetration, 250%. That's what allows the HE to actually pen. Otherwise, it will not, at least on the Atlanta. Torp damage taken can help, but I don't think you should be eating torps. Again, at 3 kilometers or so, that's about when those torpedo boats are going to launch their torps. So travel in a straight line and then maneuver when they're at 3 kilometers. You should dodge them all pretty easily if you don't have a hydro available. You can go and get better shell dispersion against the enemy torp boats or against the enemy artillery boats. And I found that those ones, which did kill me, by the way, I wanted to take those down a little quicker. So better dispersion helped a little bit, especially at closer ranges. Continuous AA can help out as well, but really this depth charge explosion radius, getting rid of those minefields is key. I think the minefields and getting back to deal with those enemy DDs is the key to winning this. But you still have to take out the coastal defenses. You basically have to be in 2 or 3 spots at once, and that's where I think it's probably required to consistently 5-star this. You just need to have at least a 2, maybe 3-man div. And if you have more people than that, I think you'll have a pretty good time with this one. Maybe not for too long because it's the same thing over and over and over again. But this is a very cool event, and I'm glad to see us getting back into some of these very unique operations. I hope Wargaming continues it. This port is amazing. Please just let us be in this port normally in the future. It's very, very cool. But that's my thoughts on the event. A few minor things, but otherwise a very, very cool event. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.